Hey everyone, it's Matt. I know it's been a while and I apologize for the delay. Thank you for your patience. The timing's going to be a little bit off in this one. We originally recorded on May 28th. You'll realize that this is finally coming out 1 month later. So everything we talked about, except for the dates of Historic Fest, just either accelerate or push it back a month. So July will be BCS month. Again, apologize for the delay. It's been a wild summer. Appreciate your patience. Enjoy the episode. Hello, I'm Matt Peterson.
And I'm Rich Trappier.
And this is episode 60 of History on the Table.
Nice.
Hello, Richard. Hello, listeners.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the end of May, or probably beginning of June for you. This year's flying. This month flew by.
It did. You know why it especially flew by is because the last episode came out so late.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter. We're back.
About that. Yeah, that doesn't matter.
They'll never know.
They'll
never know.
Pleased as punch.
How you been, buddy?
I've been pretty good. I've had a good month. It's got to play some games. It's funny, like the number of games that I got to play hasn't been that many, but our featured game for this month, I've just been playing the hell out of it. So
good.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it's fantastic. Yeah, I've been playing games. I've been playing a shit ton of Civil War stuff, reading a lot of books. It was an incredibly busy month, but somehow it feels like I've managed to get, at least on the board game front, like a million things done, and that's good. Anything new? Anything new or exciting that you just can't wait to talk about before we dive into it?
No. Historic Fest is not far away. I know you're excited about that.
Incredibly excited about that. I have a new designer announcement that's going to be there, but I need to get them their tickets and stuff. You can find the details on that. Basically, we're going to have some levy and campaign demoed at Historic Fest.
Something new?
Something new.
Nice.
So you can keep an eye out for that in the Discord, and the Historic Fest announcements are on our Facebook page. But if you're like, wait, what's Historic Fest? It is the premier Kansas City historical board game convention. August 15th through the 18th. New venue. Go to HistoricFest.com. There's a link down in the show notes. We have a Facebook page. All of that stuff. I cannot wait.
Awesome. And it is not far away because it is almost June.
Yeah.
And it's going to be almost July.
We've passed by the 3-month mark. We're in the 2 months and a couple weeks countdown. Good. Well, I don't think I have any other filler stuff. I think we can dive right into it. We talked about it last month. You were gearing up for a big play of Operation Mercury. How'd it go?
It went really well. We had a good time. We had, I think, 6 of us playing. So obviously we were at a con where we played from Wednesday through, I don't know, Saturday. I think we ended late Saturday morning, maybe early afternoon or something like that. We got to a point where the Brits were in retreat, and if we were playing like according to the scenario set up, the Brits were basically just going to be pulling out from there, and that didn't sound like much fun for anyone to just do for a few hours, knowing that we wouldn't actually get to the point where they were getting guys off the island and getting victory points for them. So we just decided to end there. But we had a good time. It's a great game. It's a great system. Operation Mercury, the Invasion of Crete, was a game that I played, and I don't think it divided up as well as the Gold Juno Sword game we played last year, as far as like everybody having the same amount of things to do. But that's not really the game's fault. That's just, that's how we divided it up. So I had a good time. I'm always looking forward to playing more GTS. Should be getting Utah before too long, and then I'll probably play that one solo for a while.
Not trying to shoehorn in too many cooks into one game, but if you were just going to play this opposed, if you were like, hey, GTS, let's play, what are you going to pick? Are you going to pick Operation Mercury or D-Day, or there's a few others out there, but like, what would be your go-to if you could play?
So
right now?
If I had my choice, even of games that I don't own, I would really like to try out the Market Garden one. I think A Bridge Too Far is the northern one.
The Devil's Cauldron?
The Devil's Cauldron, is that it? Yeah. So I would like to try that one just because something different and new. Of the two that I've played, I like the Normandy game better.
Okay.
But nothing wrong with Crete. I just, I'm a sucker for a D-Day game, a good D-Day game. So
Sure. Nice.
yeah.
Good. Well, Rich, guess what I played?
Did you play one of the best war games of all time?
I sure did. Straight from the Ohio State University, I played the U.S. Civil War.
Hey, Matt, you know what's on my solo table right now?
The U.S. Civil War?
The U.S. Civil War, yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. What brought that out?
We'll talk about that later. Ask me what I'm hot blooded about later.
Oh, love it. Okay,
Teaser.
Great. So I am playing with the good doctor. He messaged me. He was playing this at, I believe he was a guest, or I know he was a guest of Compass Games Expo.
Yeah.
I had to think of what the name of the company was there. It's only been a month since we talked about two of their games, but Compass Games Expo, he played this in person with a group that plays a bunch. So we are playing the full campaign.
Cool.
He is the Union. I am the Traitors. It's going really well. As true of most U.S. Civil War games, it's going in directions that you don't normally ever anticipate. There is a strong Union presence in West Virginia, is what I will say. And I invaded Kentucky.
Okay.
Early.
As you do.
As per tradition. It's amazing. It was so good to get back to it. I've been messing around with For the People. That's great. I played that other Civil War game last year at some point. And that other Civil War being Victory Games Civil War, I realize people may not get that joke, but the other strategic Civil War game. And
which you've been saying a lot of good stuff about lately.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's better than fine. It's a fantastic game.
Throw We the People in there.
For the People.
For the People is the third option, yeah.
Yeah, if you signed up to play We the People for a strategic Civil War game, you're going to be slightly disappointed.
It's just a very early Civil War game.
Exactly. They're all great, but the U.S. Civil War is just still so special in the fact, you get those activations, and it's early, and you're just I don't have anything to do, but before you know it, you have a million holes to plug, or plugs to hole, I guess, depending on your vantage point. But yeah, it's been fantastic. We're doing that about once a month, so maybe once an episode I'll chime in on how goes the U.S. Civil War.
Nice.
All right, I think we've both been playing a ton.
Yeah,
of
we've been waiting
game.
so long for this, and obviously,
Good.
I might as well say what we're talking about. We're talking about Plantagenet, which is now on Rally the Troops, and so we've been talking about waiting for it to come out on Rally the Troops for a while. I'm sure Paco was so sick of people asking him about it because, eventually he got to, anytime someone would ask him, he'd say, when it's done, that's when it's going to be done. So very complicated. He showed me some of the logic that went into it, like the logic that goes into one single card, and it looks pretty crazy. So I'm just glad that they did it, and it looks great, and I can play Plantagenet lots now. I think I played it 4 times this month, and we just started up another game. So
nice.
Yeah,
those are rookie numbers. You got to pump those up. I'm going into my 10th game.
Yeah, I don't like to play more than 2 at a time. I find that I get less out of the game if I'm playing those those chess masters that play 20 people at the same time. If I enjoy the game more if I'm able to focus on it a little better.
That's completely fair. That first week, I had 5 simultaneous. I've since scaled that back significantly, including playing Paco, and he obliterated me, which was lovely.
That's good.
If you're unfamiliar, you need to go to rally-the-troops.com and get yourself into a game of Plantagenet. And like we said before, when we reviewed this game, not only is it an amazing game, but even though it's so different from Nevsky, Almoravid, any of the Levin campaign titles, it's still a great point to jump in because you don't have to unlearn anything, and it still has the core there. And so far, it's still the best implementation for me. I haven't, no knock against Nevsky, but I haven't had the urge to touch Nevsky since this came out.
Nothing against Nevsky. It's pretty close to my sell pile at this point because I'm not going to play it over Plantagenet. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, it paved the way though.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's still an amazing game. It's not bad. It's just do have to be realistic about how many things you can play. So why not play the best of the best?
Yeah.
Speaking of the best of the best, a fantastic game. I shouldn't maybe overstate how good it is, but I talked about this last month, hyped it up. I played an in-person game of Silver Bayonet, the 25th anniversary edition, which that event is sold out at HistoriKC. Mitchell Layton is doing a teach of that on Sunday morning. It went very well.
And you played one of the little, like, 8.5 and 11 by scenarios, right?
Yeah, we did LZX, right?
Yeah.
Which you start right up against each other. You're in it. There's not a lot of maneuvering, but it's a great way to learn combat. The different phases of combat in Silver Bayonet are so important. And so it lets you get directly into that and then throw in things like artillery and air power and things like that. So, and I'll say things like that probably 10 more times. It went really well. I think played with the other Casey Matt. It was his first time playing it, and he's been on this journey getting into the Hex Encounter Wargame space. It's been really awesome. I think he really enjoyed it as well. We played at a little Irish pub here and knocked it out in a couple hours. And yeah, it was great to be back to Silver Bayonet. But the problem with those, I do like those little individual scenarios that you can bust out and play on the little cardstock maps and take up a little table space. But boy, does it make me just want to get the full map out.
Oh, yeah.
Hidden movement, just maneuvering as well. I mean, and they're great, but it's not the full game. So Silver Bayonet still rocks. I think that's it. It's been a whirlwind just since when we last recorded. Like, I know Last 100 Yards was in there at some point, but I think I talked about that already. Then I was going to play more of it, and that fell through.
Yeah.
But
the only other game that I played that sort of could go on this list, and I just mentioned it because it's the first time I've ever played it, but I finally got to play Dune at the con as well, so that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is just Dune, not
Dune, like
the new Dune
the
Warfare Arrakis.
original one, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was
What'd
fun.
you think?
It was fun. I enjoyed it. I played the Harkonnens, and I had never played it before, and I had had several drinks, so I did not play well. But, the little player aid card, it's like, as the Harkonnens, you need to, like, start strong and go for, all this. So I'm like, okay, well, and I wasn't even, like, being hyper aggressive on the first turn, but I just got completely jumped on. I realized after the first turn how important turn order is in that game, because I think I was like the second player, and I think I moved my troops to 3 different spots, and of those 3 different spots, like, the players behind me all outnumbered me in all those spots, and I had some good trees and cars, but it basically knocked me out of the game. So it was fun, but I did not play well.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Sorry you did not win. I would like to play some Dune. It's been a while. It's been a couple of years since I played Dune, although I will be playing Dune Warfare Arrakis at HistoriKC.
Cool.
So, okay. I've been reading a ton. And I finally, after however many years, like, This Mighty Scourge is one of my favorite books on the Civil War. It's James McPherson's collection of essays on the Civil War.
Yeah, you've
highly
talked about
recommend
that before.
A lot. Big fan. But I've never read Battle Cry of Freedom.
Okay. I read that one a couple years ago.
With it being the resurgence of the year of U.S. Civil War gaming, which it very clearly is, I thought it was time. So, really enjoying that. What I don't necessarily remember from Shelby Foote's U.S. Civil War is the build-up. McPherson spends a lot of time, like, even going just back to the politics and the different political parties, which I'm really enjoying. A good amount of time on Bleeding Kansas, all of those things. But now it's time to get in the action. So this one will take me a while. I'm not reading it nonstop, and it's like 30-something hours of narration.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's very good.
Yeah, it is good. I enjoyed it.
What about you?
I was looking... Well, last month I got on Audible a 2-for-1 sale. They had a 2-for-1, and they had Red Platoon, which I talked about last month. And the other book that I got in that sale was Vicksburg by Donald L. Miller. And I just started it. I am not very far into it, but With me also wanting to play some more Civil War stuff, and with the Vicksburg GCACW game coming out soon, that one seemed like a good one to hop into, so I started that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's on my shelf somewhere in physical form. If it's good, maybe I'll dust it off and pull it out, but that's what she said. Okay. I have been reading in anticipation of next month, the little teaser here, the Yom Kippur War. This is the revised edition of this book by Abraham Rabinovich, and it covers the Yom Kippur War. My understanding is that this is kind of the book if you just want a whole synopsis of the Yom Kippur War. It replaces some outdated books, and that this is the one you want to go to. Now, it's thick. It's 650 pages, but so far it's surprisingly readable, and I'm hoping it's going to be a good set piece for next month's featured game. That's the Yom Kippur War.
Yeah.
Abraham Rabinovich.
Yeah, that's one I wanted to read. A few months ago when I was playing Valley of Tears, I read I think I read a couple books and there was something else. I don't know, but I was into the Yom Kippur stuff, and that was one that was on my list, but I couldn't find it at the time, so I ended up reading something else.
Yeah, I think I'd order this one. It wasn't neither. There's a few libraries in the metro area here that you can get access to, just being. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. None of them had it, so I just had to order a copy. It's not hard to track down if you just order it from Amazon, but it's not like an Audible book or in my libraries that have it.
Yeah.
So. Cool. All right. You teased it.
I teased it, yeah. Hot Blooded.
What are you hot blooded for?
So you know what makes me happy?
What's that?
What makes me happy and what makes me hot blooded is when my 14-year-old daughter comes up to me and says, "Dad, you know about the Civil War, right?"
Oh boy.
And she's been, I guess she's she takes history class in school. They talked about the Civil War, and she's just like really interested in it. So she's been paying attention, and she's not really much of a history buff usually, but for whatever reason, the Civil War has caught her attention, and she's been asking me about it. She played Rebel Fury with me. She told me she wants to play some other Civil War games. She's like, yeah, I told her there's some good battlefields not too far from here we can go to. And she's like totally into it right now. So I'm like hanging on to this while I have it, that my 14-year-old daughter wants to play Civil War games with me. So at least until that phase ends, I am totally on board with Civil War. That I put the U.S. Civil War back on my table. I was like dragging out some other Civil War games. I've got some smaller Shiloh games. Still don't know that I want to dive into GBACW, but I've got plenty of other stuff that I can play with her. So, and she really liked, spoiler for the game coming up, she really liked Rebel Fury.
It's like as soon as she asks, like 50 Civil War games come piling out,
I know,
like
exactly.
the kitchen cabinets and stuff. Like
I've been waiting for this day.
Oh, it's awesome. Well, I can't wait until she becomes enlightened when she plays the U.S. Civil War. You know what? I don't know what I'm really. This is so like I always give you a hard time for doing this.
You don't have to make something up. If you're not hot blooded, that's okay.
You know what I'm honestly hot-blooded for?
What's that?
More Rebel Fury opposed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just works. We're going to talk about it. But playing this opposed has been a true highlight of the year.
Yeah.
But
it's a fun little puzzle playing solitaire, but opposed is always better.
Absolutely. But before we talk about Rebel Fury, Rich, we have another game. We have a game.
The game. The game of games.
It's the Wargame game. The game of games. Come on down, Rich.
All right, I'm coming on down. I'm looking around my room to try to pick a game off my shelf for my first guess.
Oh, man. Do I have a doozy for you. But first, folks, here's how it works. Rich can earn up to 10 points by guessing which game I'm thinking of. Every wrong guess, I'm going to give him a clue, and then I take a point off, and there's more clues, and you get how it works. But first, he gets a freebie for the maximum 10 points. Richard.
Cataphract.
No.
Damn. All right, I guess I'll go with the clues.
This game was first published in 2005 and was reprinted as a second edition, which we will primarily talk about in 2022.
I was going to say Twilight Struggle, but it's on like the 4th or 5th edition or something. Second edition recently, 2005. I should know this because we were just looking from the GMT clues, except I was looking at 2004 games. I don't know. Next clue.
Okay, this will not help you at all. This game features art by Jonathan Carnell, Carnehl.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's the Third World War.
Nice, that's a pretty good guess, actually.
Yeah,
but no.
I know it's one of those Compass Designer editions that came out in the last couple of years.
You think so?
Somewhere in there.
Okay. Well, this game, Rich,
No, I'm saying the Third World War was.
Oh, yeah, it was. This game features a unique combat system. That's not your clue. The clue is it has no combat results table.
Ooh. Is it Fields of Fire?
Nice. You're hitting close.
Ooh.
Oh, wait. No. Sorry, I was thinking of something else. Sorry. No, Fields of Fire is not even remotely close. Sorry. That's
just mean. Down
that. I was thinking of, well, it'll make sense. This game is designed by Wes Ernie and Ben Madison.
I don't know who those guys are.
Okay.
Pass.
This game was published by Compass Games.
Okay, so it's probably one of those designer edition ones or signature edition or whatever they call it. Compass game with no CRT.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of a Compass game that does not have a CRT, but it's probably one that I haven't played, obviously, otherwise I would know. I'll just say Fallblau. I don't think that's it, but
nice, but no. This is a strategic level World War I game.
Oh, okay. Is it? I haven't played this, but is it the lamps are going out?
Nice. No.
No? All right. You say nice and then no. What does that mean?
Well, because you're close. You're at least in the right.
I picked a World War I game.
Ooh.
By Compass.
Well, we're going to have to start getting a little in the weeds here because I'm running out of clues. The game maps stretches from. Oh, Rich, I'm just going to have to rhyme for you. I don't have any. I don't think any of these other clues are going to help you.
You're just going to rhyme it for me?
You just want to, before I rhyme for you, do you want to take a stab at one more strategic level World War I Compass game?
I can't. There's one that I can see the box of, but I can't think of the name of it. That's probably the one, but
I bet it is. We can just take that as your answer.
Yeah, that's my answer. The one that I'm thinking of.
Okay. So the box cover features 3 airplanes, approximately 12 men in a trench, and some dirt and smoke. Okay, Rich. It rhymes with Bleth in the Wrenches.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Is it Death in the Trenches?
It is.
That's actually not even the one I was thinking of.
Okay.
There's another one. I can't remember what the name of it is, but
so
Death in the Trenches, huh? Yeah, that's not one that I knew, obviously. So no CRT. Tell me about that.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because my copy just showed up like on Friday. But the Jonathan Carnell, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that name wrong, art is, at least for the map art, is something to write home on. Or write home about. Because it's really kind of a cool, I like the art style. I like the muted kind of colors. They've done a few different Wargame pieces and just some art stuff here and there. I don't know if any of these games would necessarily pop out of you. They've done some stuff for White Dog games. Anyways.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a movie poster.
The map or
the cover?
The cover. Yeah, the cover. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, the map.
So
yeah, interesting.
Just
a one mapper, play this. Huh?
Just the one. I think there's little like holding box, like player cards, like to represent things not on the map. The different. I'm looking right now, and there's some stuff for like the colonial areas Like, here's a section that has like Nigeria, stuff like that. Anyways, looks cool. Hoping to check it out this summer. That's Death in the Trenches.
Nice.
I really don't know anything about it other than, wow, that's a great looking map. And
so did you just obtain this?
Yeah. I just got it like last Friday.
Okay, cool.
All right. Well, sorry for not having the appropriate amount of clues, but
he thought I would do much better.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if saying like a World War I mini monster with emphasis on simple mechanics and historical narrative would have surged something in your brain like, aha, I know what it is now.
The no CRT is a good clue, and if I had ever played this game, that probably would have rung a bell, because I'm curious about that. When you play, you have to let me know how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ben Madison should be like a clue, and not to, Wes Ernie has done some stuff as well. Absolute Victory is a Wes Ernie design. The First Jihad, which I think is that a Hollandspiel joint? No, it's a White Dog game. So Wes Ernie and Ben Madison have teamed up before in the past, and they did this back in 2002. And then Ben Madison has a whole bunch of designs like Mrs. Thatcher's War, things like that. I'm sure maybe you've heard of those.
Yeah, I've heard of most of them.
Cool. All right. Rich.
Yes, sir.
I've been very excited. I've been looking forward to this episode to talk about our featured game. We've already hinted at it, but why don't you go ahead and remind everyone what we're talking about tonight?
Well, we have a little game here that we've actually already mentioned a little bit, but we'll talk about it. And it is called Rebel Fury. This is a brand new game designed by the eminent Mark Herman, who I'm sure everyone has heard of. Art by Charlie Keebler and Justin Martinez. And actually, when I didn't know that until I actually saw his name on the box, but I asked Justin about that. He said Charlie did all the work. Basically, he just sort of supervised it. He said, but with Charlie, the job is pretty easy. This is a GMT game, and like I said, it just came out, so it's a 2024 game. Probably looking at my current nominee for Game of the Year.
Wow, nice. Just one quick note, there is a dedication to Rick Barber in the map.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And there's a nice little note at the end of the designer notes as well.
That's what I meant. Yeah. That dedication. So I don't... GMT only credits Justin and Charles Kibler. At some point, somehow, Rick Barber was involved in some of the maps. I don't know if they made the final cut or not, but...
Yeah.
I just pointed out. Yeah, so this is a divisional scale... Civil War game, and it's covering 6 different campaigns of the American Civil War. So Fredericksburg, Chancellorsville, Chickamauga, Chattanooga, and then Wilderness and Spotsylvania. So we get a little sampling, some 1863 action, some 1864 action. And what I would say is, I mentioned it's divisional scale. Yeah, it's campaign driven. So these are not detailed battles. I think as we start to dive into what is Rebel Fury, the measuring stick and thing to hold this series up against, whether it's fair or not, is GCACW, Great Campaigns of the American Civil War.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Think in that term of scale, just in how you're moving, how you're conducting battles.
But think of a small scenario. There's no 117 turn scenario in this game.
No. Turns are half days.
Yeah.
So I think the longest in Rebel Fury is 10 turns.
Yeah, I think they go from 4 to 10 turns.
Yeah. That Spotsylvania Courthouse is... But it's a rules light. So we're using GCACW maybe as a frame, as the kind of game we're talking about, but it's a much lighter game. And of course, this is based off Mark Herman's Gettysburg game that he published for C3I, re-implemented with Waterloo campaigns, and I think have really refined and made into a complete and total package here in Rebel Fury. So, any kind of like big picture stuff before we just kind of,
big picture, I'd say the game is very much about maneuver. So it your movement is highly dependent on where your leaders are, and your leaders I shouldn't say where your leaders are because that could start a fight. Where your leadership counter is, and that counter can be on one of two sides, either in battle mode, which is going to give you better advantages for actually fighting, or in movement mode, or maybe maneuver mode it's called, where it has a much larger command range and lets your forces move around with a lot more freedom. And really understanding those two things right there are probably the most important parts of the whole game. Stacking is basically one. I mean, you can have like an entrenchment marker, or, the leader marker can stack with, but divisions can never stack with each other. They can't even move through each other. So it's very much about moving your pieces around, getting them in order. And then every single division in the game has a zone of control, which is adjacent, and a zone of influence, which is the next hexes and the next ring around it. And all of your guys can be in maneuver mode. Movement is super easy. It's just number of hexes. You don't have to like calculate terrain or anything. But as soon as you get within the zone of influence of an enemy unit, you flip over to your battle mode, and then it slows you down. So that's the first thing to understand. And then the second thing to understand is the way the movement works, and the combat for that matter, is you can move as much as you want until the other person passes, and then you get a limited number of moves and you're both done. So it's kind of cool. It's not like you move this one guy and he's done for the turn. You can move that guy, and then you can move him again, and you can move him again. You can keep on moving him until he comes in contact with the enemy. And then both sides just go back and forth, each moving one piece at a time. As soon as one person says, I pass, then the other person gets to roll a die and get that die number plus 3 plus some others based on like how far guys are away from everyone else, number of moves, and then you go to combat after that.
Yeah, and then that's kind of it. I mean, we'll talk about how combat works, but that is essentially the meat of the mechanics of the games, because I kind of talked about this when I played Waterloo Campaign, that these games feel like a game of cat and mouse. It's just not abundantly clear who's the cat and the mouse until it becomes clear who has moved more efficiently, because the point of this game is to win the race. Right? Be more efficient at where you're trying to go, because once you're in what you think is prime defensive terrain, you win. I mean, well, you don't win, right? But now you're in the driver's seat. It is
tough to attack into defensible terrain in this game.
Yeah, and we'll talk about defensible terrain and all that stuff. But even with Waterloo and Campaign and stuff, at one point, as you're maneuvering, you're running across the map, right? You want to get that 4 hex, just for infantry, the 4 hex movement maximum, not go into battle mode. When you're in battle mode, you're moving 1 hex at a time across the map. If you're maneuvering, you're moving 4 hexes at a time.
And possibly 8 if you're doing road movement.
Right.
So, yeah.
So you want to be flying across the map, but also you might want to bluff what your intentions are. You might want to slough your movement a lot. But if you do that too much, if you go too slow, if you don't get to the point, your opponent could be pass. And depending on how the map is set up, especially for movement, because you get the die roll like Rich said, but it also depends on who is still in command range of that leader counter Rich talked about. You could be behind the punch, meaning you don't have the moves left to block the things you need to block, to engage the flanks that you need to engage in, and to move into the hexes you've identified as vulnerable, which is incredibly important in this game, because just as Rich said, it is so hard to attack in this game.
Yeah, and blocking is really important too. Just being somewhere is often enough to get you some victory conditions, because, and this is not true for 100%, but most of the scenarios, there's basically 2 ways to win. One, you can just kill more of their guys than they kill of yours. But there's strategic victory conditions as well, where each side, and it's not always going to be the same spots, but each side has to have a line of, like railroad or road hexes or whatever, with no enemy ZOI or ZOC from some point to some other point on the map. And it's not going to be the same point for both sides. They're going to be different places. So you'll find that you're crossing a map often to get to some place where that you'll be defensible and your enemy is not going to be able to use that road to get his strategic victory conditions.
Rich, I want to go back to your point about blocking, because
Yeah.
not only are you blocking just like control of strategic hexes, but even depending on the map, just leaving a counter in a crucial point for road access. You mentioned that you count hexes when you move. You don't have to worry about thinking about it. You can enter certain types of terrain or cross creeks, which flip you from that maneuver mode into battle mode. So you go from moving 4 hexes down to 1 hex. You can't use road movement, that type of thing. You can position someone that blocks road control and really gums up your opponent's entire maneuvering, forcing their counters to go into battle mode. Because if you're outside the range of a leader, you have to move closer to that leader if you activate.
But you don't have to activate him.
That's true. You don't have to activate. But if you're going to activate, you have to move closer. Right. Now, you can do this thing that, I'm going to use road movement, and so I might go a little bit further, but I'm going to end up closer. That makes sense. But it doesn't always work out where you can take the road you want to take, because you don't end up closer, and the moving closer path means you enter a zone of influence. That zone of influence can really gum up some maneuvering. It can also, I've done it in solo plays, I've done it opposed. It can be the kind of just one cav unit or one division can make the difference between you getting into position first or your opponent getting into first, because it's the perfect roadblock.
And sometimes even a detachment. Detachments are easy to kill.
Yeah.
And, if they get eliminated, your opponent gets a VP for them, basically. But having them in a good position to knock the other guy out of movement mode and make him stop on the road and wait the rest of the turn can be worth that VP.
Yeah, sacrifice one little detachment, one VP, to make sure you draw up your defensive lines in battle mode, in defensible terrain, drawing up, racing to Spotsylvania Courthouse, racing to Chattanooga, whatever scenario you're playing. Buying yourself the time through maneuvering is what I find like so fascinating about this game.
Yeah, it's all about movement, and not just. This is about movement too, but putting your leader on the right side in the right place is a huge decision every game, because anytime you're in maneuver mode, you're going to have a huge range, probably 15 hexes ish, which
12 to 15,
which covers half the map. Everybody's going to be in command if you're in maneuver mode. But when you go into battle mode, it shrinks down to usually like 6 hexes or so. And you're more efficient at assisting with battles. The downside there is that you can get killed. But the other downside to battle mode is there's a good chance you don't have freedom to necessarily come out of battle mode. It's a die roll. So once you go into battle mode, you could be stuck there for 3 turns. And you've got this guy here in battle mode because you needed to help him fighting, and now all of a sudden half the map is out of your control because he's focusing on this battle here. And it's a really cool design decision that I haven't seen before, something like that, where he can get stuck in that mode and you lose control of him, sort of.
And what that forces you to do, if you're leader, because let's say like Chickamauga, for example, you start on the map, you each have a leader, and your leader's set in a position where about half your command, maybe a quarter, a third of your command is out of command range. And you kind of have to be a little creative with how you maneuver in. You can move those guys in, but you got to follow the rules of moving closer. But then you have to be creative. And then as you pick up your leader, if you get the option from battle mode or you're in maneuver mode, you can pick them up and place them back on the map. You want to be careful where you place them as well, because you can place them outside the range of half your army. You just need to be mindful of what blocks me from maneuvering these guys from wanting to do it. Am I going to move further away in and out of command? Am I going to hit someone's zone of influence or anything like that? And it makes a really interesting puzzle. I do want to go back to your point of having things talking about having things in battle mode and maneuver mode and your leaders and how leader counters are abstracted. What's crazy is once you start to think about what those things represent, it just works so well. It's kind of like how you always talk about GCACW, how much you like cav withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
And then the roll to move in GCACW gets a pass because it fits so perfectly.
Yeah.
But like if you're marching on some shitty little road through the woods and you enter the zone of influence of a unit, you're going to deploy, and you're going to deploy your battle lines. And it's a Civil War, so it's going to take fucking forever.
Yeah. There's a lot of games where like you can catch guys in column mode and beat them up. In this game, you can't because everybody automatically switches when you get close enough.
And if your battle, like if your leader's deployed in battle mode, that means that all of your command is like getting ready for battle. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they're anticipating a fight. They're issuing orders. They're deploying lines, whatever. You get like the flavor is there to make sense that, okay, Grant's ready to fight. He's not necessarily trying to run across all of Virginia or something. At least for me.
Yeah.
Those design choices seemed flavorful, and they seem to work really well.
The other cool thing I think about battle mode, and we haven't really talked about combat yet, but we will. Combat is tough to attack in this game, and especially if they're in terrain. So you flip your guy over to get into battle mode, you're going to get probably at least if he has 1 star, you're going to get +1 to your strength. If he's 2 stars, you get +2 to your strength. I don't think there are any 3 stars because Grant and Lee are both 2 stars. But in any case, those 2 stars, that's a big deal. It can absolutely make the difference in your attacks. But if you use those 2 stars to your advantage and you roll either a 0 or a 9, there's a chance he's going to get killed. And the better he is, the higher chance he is to get killed because you roll another die, add his number of stars, and if it's 9 or higher, he's dead. And if he's dead, he's basically stuck in maneuver mode for the entire rest of the game. So that's, I mean, that's rough when you lose your 2-star general. That can make a big difference.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about? I do want to say real quick. One little flavor thing that, of course, I love that if Jackson gets wounded, he's gone. Like the counter is gone. Which is real quick before we talk about battle, I do want to say, coming from a lot of Waterloo campaign where the French have 3 commanders, a lot of these scenarios you'll only have the one leader counter.
A second commander is a huge benefit.
Oh my gosh, it's massive. When Thomas shows up at the end of Chickamauga, it's like all, and like by that point, at the second to last turn, the CSA get 2 leaders to help out Bragg, Longstreet, and it doesn't matter. I can't remember shit. But then Thomas comes on, and it like changes the game. You have so many opportunities. You deploy him in battle mode to get the 2 stars for battle.
You can have them take turns so that one has the wide range and the other can help battle.
It's so good. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about battle.
Yeah. So combat it's super simple. It's basically it's always going to be one division versus one division. But other divisions for the attacker can be in support and can give you. It's not a DRM. It's a strength modifier. So everybody starts at 1. If you use artillery, the attacker gets +3. The defender gets +4. If you're attacking and you have another division also in the guy defending ZOC, you get another +1. And if you have integrity, which means if you have Anderson A and Anderson B, or both guys are in the same core or whatever, then you could get another +1. I think it's +2 and then +1. And then you can get leadership stars as well. And the defender will get terrain bonuses. So, but the terrain bonuses are super simple. Basically, if you're in defensible terrain, meaning over a river or in the woods, you're going to get +3. If you have actually built entrenchments or stuff like that, then it goes up to +5. Now, the highest score you can get on the battle table is a 10. So you can see most battles are going to be up in that 7, 8, 9 range. If you're using your artillery, if you're in good terrain, if you've supporting your attacks and everything. So you're not going to see a lot of guys just getting blown away unless they're a detachment. If you attack a detachment, you get another +4. So that's where you're going to see guys just getting run over. But because of that, you get a lot of attacker retreat results. Sometimes you get attacker blown results. So attacking into defensible terrain is... I'm not looking at the CRT, so I can't say for sure, but it feels like it's going to be less than a 50% chance. So if you've got a guy that you need to attack, you want to plan on being able to attack him 2 or 3 times to make sure that you have a decent chance to get him out of there. And then once the attacker and the defender roll, they're going to get a result on the CRT that goes from significant disadvantage to disadvantage, advantage, significant advantage, and then you'll compare those results on the next table down. So it's a 2-step combat to determine whether attacker is blown, defender runs away. And you can get special results on the extremes too, like counterattacks and things like that.
The one thing I was thinking of while you were talking was tying this all back into movement, right? Like, it's so hard to get the results you want unless you're able to position into a stronger advantage.
Yeah. And
now,
one of the ways
to
do that is if you can catch a guy in a clear,
yep. Yes.
Get someone next to him, he can't move anymore. And
you
then you can bring other guys up to surround him.
That's a really it becomes evident as soon as you start playing, but it's not, if you're not playing, it's maybe not immediately clear that as soon as you move into zone of control, not zone of influence, they're locked in.
Yeah.
And so maneuvering more efficiently, getting the jump on a guy, getting them pinned down, and then locking them in to then set up the rest of the pieces you need. Ideally, bring in another piece of the core. If you should always have someone adjacent to get the +2, which is more important than the core integrity, which I thought was an interesting little flavor piece. Did you read the design note about how Mark Herman's always liked the design in 3 Days at Gettysburg for core integrity, where you're penalized if you don't keep your lines together. But Mark Herman's proposal here is that it's not that important in most battles. So if you are able to get core integrity, it's a bonus. You don't have to. And there's lots of battles where I'd have like, where the hell is the rest of 11th Corps? And then they're like way on the other side of the map or whatever. It doesn't break you.
Yeah.
But that +1, like rolling on the 10 feels like just that much better than rolling on the 9.
Yeah.
That much more of an odd for a significant advantage. And you're right, attacking is just so hard. So looking for that positional advantage is crucial, especially in a lot of, like, some scenarios are races, some scenarios are you're fighting out, like Fredericksburg. Like, I don't know how much replayability is in Fredericksburg, but
I would like to know if, and I understand it's like the learn to play scenario. Has the Union in all of the playtesting ever won that Fredericksburg scenario? Because you're attacking into the +5s, and you've got 4 turns, and you got to get like 5 of those hexes. It's crazy.
Yeah, right. It is crazy, and you're kind of thinking like, what the hell were they thinking? And it is, what the hell were they thinking on so many levels? But I don't know where I was going with that anymore. But yeah, I like combat, and I think it's true of a lot of games. We say it about a lot of things. Once you do it a couple times, you get it down. I mean, once you did it a few times, you just get what to look for. All right, +3 for defensible terrain, +4 for defender artillery. You get it, and you just go through. There's a few situations, someone's in a fort and someone's outside of a fort, you have to attack.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of things like that, but that's not like a huge aspect of the game.
Which I thought is an interesting rule. I don't think I've seen that in any other game where it was if you're an attacker next to an entrenchment, you have to attack into the entrenchment.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen that either. Now you mention it. Cool.
I mean, otherwise the terrain it's pretty simple in that there's like not 7 different kinds of terrain because it's all just defensive. It's either defensible or it's clear, basically. The only exception would be they don't even have cities. They call them towns. Like the absolute biggest areas on the map are called towns, and I think those are only in like 2 of the maps. Like all the little towns that you see all over the map, those are not towns. Those are just clear.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. There's an interesting, I'm just trying to like think of other things I wanted to talk about. There's an interesting decision to be made on how much to push your attacks, right? So like I kind of said, I use this frame of GCAC.
2 unit limit. Yeah, absolutely.
In GCCW, there's this aspect of fatigue, and that's what limits your movement, and that's what limits the types of attacks you can conduct, all of those things. Here, you're not limited by anything except when your opponent passes, but one of the combat results, other than elimination, is you can blow your unit. So your army cohesion, they'll come back in a couple turns. Well, if you blow too many guys, if too many of your units are blown, then only
I played this game
turn.
with my daughters, and we had the same jokes. It's fine.
Of course. He knew what he was doing. It was intentional. If you don't want to not press the attacks when you have to press the attacks, but also you got to be mindful that if I have 4 guys blown at the end of this turn, I'm only getting half of those guys back in 2 turns. There's a 2-unit limit on blown units returning the map. The other guys just eliminate.
And your opponent gets to pick the guys that are eliminated, which means anybody that's got a star isn't coming back.
I liked Cav. I did some nasty things opposed, and like I would say nasty things solo, but like who am I I'm not really tricking myself, but just opposed, I was able to get them in some good positions.
Yeah.
If Cav's in command, that just ability to fly around the map.
Yeah, so Cav gets extra movement, but once Cav deploys into battle mode, except for the fact that they can retreat from a division, they're really no different. They fight just like a division.
Well, they can't get artillery.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I forgot about artillery.
And they can't attack
as well.
infantry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anything else we missed that you wanted to hit on or you particularly enjoyed or wanted to make a comment about?
You mentioned artillery. So every scenario, each side gets a number of artillery points.
Oh, yeah, artillery points. Yep.
Now, I did not play the 10-turn scenarios. I played every one except for the 2 10-turn scenarios. Mm-hmm. We never came close to running out of artillery. Maybe in the 10-turn scenarios you would. But other than that, just use artillery every time because you're going to need it.
Yeah, I may have gotten low in Chancellorsville. I'm trying to think. It doesn't really matter. In one game opposed, it was like the last turn. It's like we can stop tracking at this point because we don't even have enough battles equal to what our artillery remains.
Yeah. And then in some scenarios, the Union gets heavy artillery, which is an extra bonus, which is very nice.
It is very nice. I like the maps. I think the Chickamauga map is my favorite just because it's of all the, like, there's so much nasty terrain. And
yeah, they look great. I guess it is one other piece of terrain that I didn't mention is some of the roads are switchbacks, which basically don't act like roads.
Let's see. I don't think. Do you have any critiques?
I'm not sure it's a critique, but it is brutally hard to attack in this game. To the point that I've seen a lot of games slow down because no one wants to attack. And if everybody sort of blobs into a big blob and then decides not to attack, the game kind of gets boring from there. So I'm not quite ready to call it a critique because I think that's a design decision, and I think the solution to that is more maneuver, less attacking. There's always those strategic objectives that you can go for rather than just trying to kill people. But attacking, because it's so hard to attack, I have seen games just grind down to where no one wants to attack. And then
he makes a comment about this, right?
Yeah, he talks about it in the notes.
And I don't know if I agree with the solution. Now, the solution is, obviously you're playing it for the fun, and the dice love no one, in that you're going to have to try and try again and try to outmaneuver. But, like, and again, Fredericksburg is not the best example, but like, how much maneuvering are you going to be able to pull off in Fredericksburg to set up that attack, you know?
Yeah.
I do like that he encouraged, whether players are going to listen to it or not, that if you're playing the attacker, you're going to have to make some attacks you don't like. It's just when and where, which is true. Like, that's good in a lot of games if the payoff's there to be found. My point is, you can do lots of things in a lot of different games, but that doesn't mean you should always do it. Just because you can, my point is, just because you can attack somewhere doesn't mean you should. Now, finding the shoulds may be too hard. I do agree with you, but I never tired of it. There were some like pretty desperate ones, and I had like some sure things just go awful. Not like disastrous, like a combat result disastrous, just disastrous on what I expected to happen, and it didn't happen. So the dice can swing for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not in the 10 or 9 range, you got a big range of what can happen if you're rolling on like the 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So
the only other critiques I had are so minor, I don't even want to mention them, but the pontoon bridges, the counters just annoy me. Because it's like the hex isn't big enough for the division and the pontoon bridge. So, but that's a small thing.
Here's another small thing. I wish he would have written a little historical background on each battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like generally, I know that Fredericksburg,
especially
was a shit
since
show.
All 3 of them are double battles that happen one after the other. So. Kind of.
Yeah. I mean, I just think like we should expect that of our, like, at least paint the picture of historically who is the attacker, what was going on, what was trying to happen here. Again, there's so many resources out there for Civil War, although there is no recommended reading.
Yeah, because I even looked a little bit. I mean, I don't know of a specific book for like any of the specific battles. There are plenty of books that cover campaigns and everything, but I don't know that, like, if I wanted to find a book that covered the Battle of Fredericksburg, I don't know where I'd look for that.
Yeah, I could probably find a couple on, like, because isn't Battle Above the Clouds, is that also a book for Chickamauga? And
is there a book
Chattanooga
named that too? I don't know.
I think so. There might even be a couple. But yeah, I just, again, that is such a nitpicky thing. If I wasn't someone who like obsessed with Civil War games, my favorite game wasn't a Civil War game. If this is a great introduction game, and if you're intending it as an introductory game, I think that historical flavor needs to be in there. That's just like my preference. But again, that doesn't detract from this game at all. It's really nitpicky stuff right now. So
yeah,
don't get upset.
And calling this an introductory game is fair because, I mean, I taught my 14-year-old daughter how to play in just a few minutes, but it's also a game that, I mean, it's got a lot of depth to it. I don't think, like, if I were to play the same scenario 10 times in a row, it's going to be a little different, but because of the strategic objectives, dice rolls are going to change it, but it's going to kind of look the same, but I think it'll still be fun.
I guarantee it'll still be fun because there's 6 battle. Well, look, just comparing it to Waterloo, right?
Yeah.
Which I've played maybe a dozen times now, and I'm not really tired of it. I'm not cranking out as many battles on repeat, but I tend to have one going. I have one going right now, and I'm still really enjoying that game, and that's one battle. And so the fact that you have 6 in this box, you have a lot of diversity. Some of the strategic conditions are kind of similar, tracing a route, however many hexes long. Yeah, you get it. There's a lot to unpack here. So, yes, I agree with you 100%. It's a great introduction game, but also this is a game, for me, that I'm going to continue to play and love the shit out of. I was not initially going to order the second box that's coming out, but it's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
now.
and he says he wants to do like every major battle. So if and when the Shiloh game comes out in this system, that's going to be insta-buy for me.
Yeah. So, final thoughts?
It's a good game. It's fun. It's you got 3 maps, 6 battles, and that's another kind of cool thing I didn't mention. But the battles all have a letter that goes with them, and the counters are all marked with that letter. So you can very easily, pick out 1 or 2 bags for the battle that you're doing, and that's everything you need for setup besides like the status counters and all that. So.
Oh, and it can support 3 simultaneous games.
Yeah. Yep.
Has the counters for it. Yeah, I agree. It's an amazing game. You said this is front runner for your game of the year. The only thing this has going against it is that I discovered PAX Renaissance this year, which is an amazing game in its own right. But in terms of war games, this is easily one of the best things I've played so far this year. New release, new to me or not, just full stop. One of the best games I've played this year. I really like it. I've enjoyed seeing the design choices in Waterloo and how they've taken shape in Rebel Fury.
Mm-hmm.
I like the battles presented for the most part. What's your favorite battle out of here?
It was Chickamauga at first, but I think it's probably still Chickamauga.
Chickamauga is really good.
Yeah, because you have to move a lot, and you have to, from your starting positions, you have to like cross to the other guy's side to get to where you need to be. And I think that makes for a lot of fun, given everything we talked about with the Zoc and the ZOI.
Spotsylvania might be my favorite. I need to finish my opposed play of it. I've messed around with it solo and played it half opposed. I also really liked Chancellorsville because of just like how the forces are laid out at first. Like you have the guys around Fredericksburg and everyone on Marys Heights and stuff, but you also have Union forces in the rear, and it's the other 10-turn scenario. But Chickamauga's great. They're all I thought all of them were fun. I don't know how much I'll again play Fredericksburg. But yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. I love the puzzly element of the cat and mouse maneuver. It's really something unique, and it's a home run.
Yeah. This is definitely one I'm going to keep playing. Obviously my daughter's interested in playing it, so got somebody to play with, and it's a good one to throw on the table. Not too heavy. You can play it in 2 or 3 hours easily.
Easy, yeah.
I haven't played the 10-turn ones yet, but yeah, I assume those go decent amount longer. But Wilderness is one of the smallest scenarios. It's only 4 turns, and that's a damn good scenario too.
Yeah, yes, I think they're all damn good.
Even calling it a 4-turn scenario is a little deceptive though too, because of the movement, because you can move as much as you want. It's you could look at it like if you don't know anything about this game, but you are a war gamer and I set it up in front of you, you're going to see that I've got like 10 counters, and you're going to assume that I get like 10 moves and that we're done. But once everybody gets to move, and some guys are moving 2, 3, 4 times, you can see how it changes your expectations.
Yeah. Yes. Agree. 100%. And there is, I think if you really know this game and you kind of move around, there's nothing stopping you from playing Chickamauga twice in like an evening session, switching sides. Very easily, very doable. Wow, it's great. So now, Rich, do you know what time it is?
What time is it?
Rich, we have a list.
Oh, we do have a list.
A list of every war game ever made, ranked from best to worst.
From best to Zeppelin Raider.
From best
from
to
Republic
Zeppelin Raider.
of Rome. Still weird to say that.
Absolutely.
To Zeppelin Raider.
Here's how it works. Rich is going to go turn on the generator. We're going to spin up our clay wheel.
Baby. I got my shirt off.
Love it. We're going to get some blindfolds. We're going to stick our hands out, and all we do is we merely shape the clay. We never really put it in the kiln. This this clay is always a little moist, so we can reshape it as we need to, as the hotties demand. But tonight, we pick up a little scrap piece of clay from the art tray, and we add it to the list. We need to find a spot for Rebel Fury.
I got a spot in mind.
Okay, I've got a few, so let's hear it.
I like this better than Thunder in the Ozarks.
Okay.
That's 24. And looking above 24, you got Next War Vietnam. Above that, you got Nevsky. Above that, you got Almoravid. I'm not sure it's quite there, but I like it.
Okay.
So I like it at 24.
I like it at 21. I like this more than Almoravid and Nevsky.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, I really love Nevsky, but like I said earlier in the game, earlier in the night, with Plantagenet, I don't know that I need right. Nevsky anymore. So, yeah.
That's a fair point. I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking of it here is that were it not for Plantagenet being out there, do I view Nevsky and Almoravid in a different light? I don't know. And maybe it's a little unfair not to, bring up old wounds, but Men of Iron Tri-Pack is such a good package because there's so many things in that box.
Mm-hmm.
Where here there's 6 battles in this box, and there's 6 scenarios in Plantagenet, but usually I'd either play the big one or Whatland. So I'm playing 2 of the 6 or whatever. I mean, they're both...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
new and innovative.
I don't know that I would even argue that. I mean, if you wanted to go above Atlantic Chase, I think I'd probably push back against that. But,
okay.
With especially like with Nevsky and Almoravid, I think you won that fight. You had Almoravid above. I like Nevsky a little better, mostly just thematic. Although Almoravid, I admit, does have the improvements that led to Plantagenet. But yeah, I would still take this one. I think I'd probably take this over Almoravid and Nevsky. I think that's
okay.
Fair.
Well, wonderful. Look at that. Number 21, Rebel.
Yeah, and I guess once the next game in the series comes out, we need to add it to every series ever.
Yeah. We will. Absolutely. Nice. I like that. Number 21. So now we're down. We've ranked 81 games. Zeppelin Raider sitting at number 81. I have a new bottom of the list, by the way, for the end of the year.
Awesome.
It is significantly worse. It's so much worse than Zeppelin Raider.
I can't wait to hear it.
Like I'll miss the Zeppelin Raider memes, but one of those solar games I played either this year or late last year. It must have been early this year because I didn't add to the list last year. I was thinking about it the other day. I was just kind of thinking, I was like, man, that game was awful.
Humanity.
How many more games do we have to go?
Well, I guess we could either do 82 more, or we could each play every game that either of us owns. And we're both selling games, so we got to do it fast.
Yeah, but I added like 10 more to my P500 that I thought were on there and I didn't have on there.
I've got some expensive ones that are going to be coming soon.
Oh, yeah?
Well, the Vicksburg game is coming soon, and GTS Utah is coming soon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a big boy.
There's some others. I actually don't have too many GMT games now. Next to Iran, obviously.
Yep. But even those are such good, like, Next War Iran is not like
not
breaking the bank, and then...
Yeah, the MMP games are the ones that are going to kill my bank account.
Yes. Those are the GCCW game. Like, you're excited it got announced, but also it's like, hey! Okay. Love it. Love Rebel Fury. Immensely impressed with it. So much fun. Solo. Incredible opposed. This game is going nowhere. Like, at Historic Fest, I'm like, I'm just going to, like, leave one up to play async with someone and like flip a little tile over to mark whose turn it is.
That'd be
or
cool.
something.
I
Just
like that.
Yeah, why not, right? Like, it's not a table hog, and it plays. The only who was I? Oh, second to the other Casey Matt about how wanting to play it when you play it async, you lose some of it, so you're like begging for the other person to take your turn once you're into it, because that cat like, oh, I want to do this, and I'm just waiting for him to respond. But anyways, yeah, I like Rebel Fury. It is solid. Okay, well, I know what, not necessarily what game 82 will be, ranked 82, but I know what the 82nd game on the list will be. Rich, tell them about June.
Yeah, so one of those MMP games that cost a lot of money. This one's not too much, though. So Battalion Combat Series, this one just came out last year. The latest in the BCS series, Valley of Tears. This is the 1973 Yom Kippur War with Israel, Syria, and Egypt.
Yeah, so June is BCS month. The patrons have voted over at patreon.com/historytable. Of all the BCS games, this is what was chosen. I'm incredibly excited. I've already marked a day off. June 7th, the day before my birthday. I'm just having a BCS day. And then I've got some online games planned. I'm just going to jam as much of this as I can. I've been reading the little introduction booklets, the player's guides, and prepping the rulebook now. And I am incredibly excited to start pushing around some blobs.
Yeah, me too. I played this one a decent amount a few months ago. I've only played the Syria side, so I think I'm going to concentrate more on the Egypt side this month.
Cool. I love it. It's I'm sure we'll talk about this, but like I'm learning so much about this war, but it's like this book starts off like if they had satellite imagery and Israel just like saw what was happening on the Golan Heights, or saw what was happening across the Suez Canal, it'd just be like, maybe we should have some more reserves called up or something like that. But to then call up all the reserves and history of the play out that it did, I'm very like interested to learn about this war for sure. So
if you want to watch something, Valley of Tears on Max is pretty good.
Okay, yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, just it covers the Syrian side.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, folks, this is the point in the show where Rich and I take everything off. Everything comes off the table, and we talk about all the other stuff we've got going on. You got anything this month, buddy?
We're into Three Body Problem right now. Have you seen or read that?
It has been on my to-read for a long time, and I know everyone's all hot and heavy on it because it's a movie or a Netflix show?
It's a Netflix show.
Netflix show.
And
what do you think of the book so far? Because most people that I follow on Goodreads have like read it, but the reviews are kind of all over the place.
Great story, not great writing. And I think what that might be is it's written in Chinese and translated, obviously.
Translation.
And I suspect that that's a big part of it because the story really is incredible. The writing is not incredible. It's not terrible, but it's kind of weird at times.
Okay. I've heard that some of the early Witcher books have some translation issues as well.
Oh, really?
Where it's just like yeah, but again, I've never really tried to read them.
Yeah.
So do you recommend reading it still? Like it's not like so bad that you want to recommend it, or
no, I definitely recommend it. I mean, we're almost at the end of the second book, and there's a third book as well. So I haven't finished the trilogy, but yeah, it's good. It's I mean it's just a very good and different take on sci-fi. It's not. I'm sure there are people out there that have read a lot more than I have, but I haven't seen anything like this before, which is why I like it so much.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
I have been on a reading binge, and it has been glorious. Just fiction primarily. Little Anthony Beaver we've talked about, some Civil War stuff. But are there any like massive detective series, like Bosch, or those things that are like the 33rd entry in a detective series? You read anything like that? Like some of those are.
I've never really. I have read, not all, but a significant number of Sherlock Holmes books. But other than that, I've never really been into mysteries too much.
Okay, so I do like mysteries a lot, but I've always been turned off of like the big sweeping series where like, yeah, you can read it at any point, but you really should start at number 1 to get the full image of the author. Yeah. I'm diving back into Dave Robichaud books, which is exciting. That's not what I'm talking about. There is what really has got me excited is the Charlie Parker series, which is like 23 books by John Connolly, not Michael Connolly, who wrote the Bosch books, which Bosch was an Amazon Prime show. John Connolly's Charlie Parker books, because if you remember, Rich, I told everyone I've been on this quest to find books like True Detective Season 1.
Okay.
And these get close, and I've been told they get even closer because there's this hint of mystical realism, a little bit of the strange, maybe just a little bit of the out of this world as a I don't know, just underlying tone. And I've heard like it gets ramped up in the later books, and so I'm almost done with book 2, and I'm looking forward to like, I've got 20 something odd books to read about this, and it like only goes further off the rails.
Yeah,
I would say it's pretty like, I wouldn't say like graphic, but like adult, for lack of a better term. It's pretty good. I'm sorry, it's very good. I'm loved the first book, and I'm nearly done with book 2, and there's been some very creepy moments in book 2, which has been awesome.
Nice.
That's John Connolly's Charlie Parker series.
Cool.
Rich.
Yeah.
If I were to tell you that I read a book, first off, did you ever see the Adrian? What's that?
I said I'd believe you.
Nice. Did you ever see the 2009 hit Adrian Brody film Splice?
No, I definitely did not see that. I know who Adrian Brody is, but I'm pretty sure I did not see that movie.
Okay, so spoiler alert for a 15-year-old movie that is utter garbage. I can't believe it's got a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. Adrian Brody is a geneticist, and he creates like hybrid species, and then he hooks up with the hybrid species. It is fucking gross and weird. Okay, so that's one premise. Have you seen Human Centipede?
I have not seen it, but I know what it is, and I will never see that.
This book is not like Human Centipede in the sense that you don't have a human centipede, but you basically take Splice, and then you throw in a dystopian world where animal meat can't be eaten. Everyone eats special meat, which is human meat, processed from humans bred to be the meat source for the world. My wife picked this out for me because she thought I might enjoy it. And I did, but it was just page after page of how more messed up can this book be. This book was never grotesque just to be grotesque. Like, the whole premise is obviously gross. Like, they do talk about, like, oh, yeah, they ate fingertips or something like that. So in a lemon herb sauce. And yeah, that's gross. I get it. And they talk about like how all the meat is processed, but it's never like, and his intestines were leaking. So it's tasteful cannibalism, if you will. So it's just like kicking the nuts after kicking the nuts, or kicking the gut because it's grossing you out a little bit, but you can't put it down. So I don't recommend this book, but it was a 4 out of 5, and I really enjoyed it.
So you're gonna like give it to someone that you don't like and make them read it.
You know, I got it from the library. So, you know, check it out from your local library, I guess, and enjoy it. And the ending was amazing. It just in the last sentence.
Coming soon to Netflix.
That would be something. You know, it was almost as good as like Food is People.
I haven't heard that either.
And, no, Soylent Green doesn't.
Oh yeah, Soylent Green. Okay, sure.
Yeah. The line is Food is People, right? Or is it Soylent Green?
Soylent Green is People.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's right. Right. Yeah. Anyway, so a little bit of that guy. I think they reference Soylent Green.
Yeah.
In the film, not Charleston Heston, just that movie. So, which, you know, if Soylent Green was real, we're living in Soylent Green times right now. So the future is here. Anyways, the book is called Tender as the Flesh, if you want to go check it out. It's gross.
Well, you know
if you
what?
don't like those kind of things,
I'm going to pass on that one.
Well, hey, Jason from AAC gave it a 3 out of 5. I gave it a 4 out of 5,
Yeah.
but there you go.
Charlie
Yeah,
Parker one sounds more interesting.
Yeah, I like it. And like, now don't expect like the best writing, most thoughtful writing. It is a detective book. Or I guess he's not a detective, he's a private investigator. But I like kind of the creepy, like there were some like really creepy moments in book 2 where like someone was in his house. I was like, oh, that's fucked. So
how's it compared to the Jim Butcher books about the wizard in Chicago?
Yeah. Like in terms of like difficulty of reading
Yeah.
and depth of reading, yeah, like that. Just more grim, dark detective-y.
Yeah.
I've read the first 2 Jim Butcher books. Those are a lot of fun, but you're not reading, I don't know, anything thoughtful. So there you go. I've been reading a lot. I wanted to talk about both of those. I've been enjoying some good stuff.
Yeah.
And I just finished Tenders the Flesh today, and I just felt like I needed to talk to someone about it, but I want to talk to someone who's like read the ending.
I watched I was home alone and watched the first episode of Lovecraft Country this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
Have you read the book?
no, I didn't even know it was a book. I remember people talking about it a couple years ago, and
Yeah,
I've been
yeah, I
wanting
was
to
really
see
into
it.
it.
So, but I also knew it was something my wife wasn't going to be interested in. So, yeah, it
Oh.
looked good enough to continue. So,
You know, it doesn't. You might want to circle back with her. It definitely takes a different tone than what you think it's going to take. It's especially the show, and
Yeah.
the show is significantly different than the book.
okay,
I really like both for what it's worth. Like they're both different enough that I think I recommend. And I did the book after the show.
yeah, I have not had a chance to play
Country's good
Call of Cthulhu RPG in a while, but just watching that made me want to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Get
end of the
ya.
first episode when the Shoggoths attacked, and it was pretty cool.
Dude, Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was awesome. That's a fun show.
Yeah.
That's a fun show. Yeah, it definitely takes. It does not maintain that same tone at all times necessarily, but cool. Anything else?
No, that's about it. I am looking forward to playing BCS this month, though.
I am. Me too. Long overdue for a BCS game on the list. I think BCS was like episode 3 or 4 when I very first started. I had just played one of the BCS games, but it has yet to appear on the list.
Oh. Yeah, because you played with Paul, didn't you?
I played with Kansas City Zach.
Oh, okay. Was it OCS you played with Paul? I remember you at Donkey Kong a few years ago. You played,
for Donkey Kong? Yeah, we played Beyond the Rhine.
Got it.
OCS,
Okay.
Yep.
Which there is also a BCS game of that battle. Of course,
Yeah,
there
episode
is.
2. Episode 2, I talked about Battle Hymn. Do you think we'll get Battle Hymn Volume 2 this year?
Yeah, I'm sure it's coming.
Oh, good. I talked about Battle Hymn and BCS. So
Cool.
way back then. All right, well, folks, that's going to do it for us. I'm going to go hop into bed and read some cannibal books or something like that.
Sounds like a good plan. Give yourself some nightmares. I will probably listen to some more of Three Body Problem, or actually The Dark Forest, which is the second book. We're
Very
almost done with the second one.
Folks, if you want to come talk about the ending of Tenders of Flesh, or if you want to come say, Matt, what the hell did you recommend to me? You can come join our Discord. There's links down in the show notes.
Please,
That's going to do it for us.
please don't
What's
feel
that?
obligated to read that book because Matt recommended it. I'm certainly not going to.
Again, I didn't recommend it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It's better than Human Centipede.
There you go.
You can put that on the cover when they reprint it. Critics proclaim better than Human Centipede.
Yeah. So
All right,
at the
folks.
end of this year, that's going to be on the Zeppelin Raider box. Better than whatever this game you're about to add to our list.
I don't know. I got to think about it some more because they're both pretty bad. Like,
All right.
as soon as I said it, I was like, is it really worse? I don't know. I don't really want to play either of them to find out again. So, All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Go hop into our Discord. Go sign up for Historic Fest, all of that stuff. Next month is BCS month. If you have questions about BCS or anything like that, show note, or you can send us an email, all that stuff. Links down in the show notes. Historic Fest. Tinders the Flesh, Historic Fest. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.